everyone. Welcome to the Happy Place to Grow, where it's the month of November and we are thinking about being thankful for a lot of things. But on November 11th, it's a chance for us to be thankful for our armed forces because it's a special holiday called Veterans Day. Have you heard of this holiday? Have you been talking about it in school or maybe seen some information on the TV or on news, or maybe your parents have talked about it? Well, think about it for just a minute. What do you know about Veterans Day? It is a holiday. Schools are going to be closed. Banks are going to be closed. But why are we celebrating it? What's it all about? Well, let's find out more. Let's find out together. And in this video, I'm going to share with you some special pictures and items from my favorite veteran, my dad. Well, first of all, let's talk about Veterans Day. Veterans are people who served in or are serving in the armed forces. The armed forces include 5 branches. We've got the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, the Marines, and lastly, the Coast Guard. The people that serve on these jobs, well, they sign up for, I guess you would say, various reasons. Adventure, they want to challenge themselves, they want to protect and serve. And we're thinking about the military because they are the folks, sometimes we don't think about them, but they are the folks that are going around the world, or they're even serving in our country to protect and defend and to take care of people and places and spaces. And they're very brave folks, for sure. You know, a brave person is a person that will face dangerous situations because they know how important it is to step up and to serve. And you know, the people in the military are definitely brave, and we want to think about and honor them. And I thought it would be great if we talk about all of the branches of the military and think about who serves and how they serve. So the first thing I'm going to share with you is a newspaper. It's about veterans, and I think it will be great because sometimes veterans we don't think about. They are the people that have served past, present, and I guess you could even be thanking the people in the future that go into the armed services. You know, when you go into the military, you're signing up to serve and protect our country. You are thinking about leaving your family, training really hard, and sacrificing a lot. Sometimes you have to leave your family, your friends. You have to travel to faraway places. And sometimes you have to head into dangerous situations. So it is really important for us to be mindful and thankful of those that serve and protect us so that we can live here in America, the land of the free and the home of the brave. This newspaper says, Happy Veterans Day. Veterans are people who have served in the armed forces. Our parents are in the Army. They help keep our country safe. You know, I don't think about this sometimes, but there are young children, and maybe you are one of those kids who has a mom, a dad, maybe a grandparent, an aunt, or an uncle, someone that you know personally that is in the military or in a branch of the military. If you have a mom or a dad that is serving, that would be a really hard thing, I think, for a young child if your parent has to go away, if they have to serve in a dangerous place. Let's find out more. Let me open up and find out, because this is focusing on kids who have a mom and a dad in the military. And there's these little rectangle boxes that tell about parents serving in the military. So let's look right here. I love the salute. If you are able to run into a veteran now or even on Veterans Day, it's really fun to salute and give honor and recognize that they are serving. If you see someone in uniform, that would really make their day. Box number 1 says they wear uniforms. Mom and dad wear uniforms. So whatever branch of military you're in, that is the kind of uniform that you would wear. So the Army, they're ground forces. So they have to blend in with the landscape. So this is why they're wearing camo. They look really cool in them. The uniforms have a camouflage pattern. Our last name is on the uniform. So that's their last name. And they would need to blend in with the land so that they would be hard to spot if the enemy's flying over and they're trying to find the military on the ground. They would have a hard time seeing them because they're blending in or camouflaging. Let's see what this says in this box. It says they are brave. You're definitely brave if you're serving in the military. People go to training so they can be in the Army or any branch of the military for that matter. They make their minds and bodies strong. You have to definitely focus and prepare for this job because you're going to run into situations where you're going to face lots of danger, possibly. You're going to have to be strong, brave. You might have to walk with a backpack on for a long journey, or you might have to be in situations where it's cold or it's hot. So you train and you develop your mind and body. That's amazing. They really are brave. Our parents went to training too. They learned how to jump out of planes. Would you do that? Wow, that would be, you definitely have to be brave. It says here is Dad jumping out of a plane. Whoa, I don't know if I'd be that brave. What about you? The next box says they have to go away sometimes. So this is where for a kid or a family member, if you're a person in your family was going into the military, they might have to travel. They might have to go to a faraway land and serve, sometimes for a year or more. They get back to come back for visits, but it would be few and far between. That would be, you would have to be brave if you were a kid or a family member who had a loved one going off into the military to serve. Last year, Mom and Dad went to another country. They were away for 9 months. That's almost 1 year because there's 12 months in a year. Our grandparents took care of us. We talked with our mom and dad all the time. Thank goodness for technology. Back in a long time ago, before there was like FaceTime or, phone, digital ways that we could communicate with family members, you just had to write a letter to your loved one and maybe a phone call. And that would be not that often. So good thing for technology now, right? And then finally it says, we are so proud of them. We were so happy when they came home. We had missed them, but they had done a big job. For sure they were proud. They helped our country stay safe. Happy Veterans Day, Mom and Dad. Wow. I'm really thankful for the kids that are brave enough to let their parents go to the military and serve. It would be hard to have a mom go or a dad, but to have both parents. But some people love serving in the armed forces. It's such a special job and they like to do it. And so it's important for them to do it. And we're so glad people are brave enough too. Let's look down here at the bottom. It says tongue twister, our armed forces. So armed forces means that they are trained to use weapons because sometimes enemies that we are up against have firearms. And so our military has to be trained. Our armed forces help keep our country safe. Here are 5 different parts of our armed forces. We've got the Army. We've talked about that. How about the Air Force? And of course, each branch has a different training techniques, and then each branch has different uniforms, and each branch of the military protects different parts of our land. So we've got the land, we've got the skies, because there are enemies in the skies too. Marines I'm not that familiar with, but I think they can work on land and in the sea. So they've got a really different kind of hat uniform. The Navy is definitely working on ships, because sometimes you have to travel by water, or there might be battles or situations on the water. And then finally, the Coast Guard. Now, the Coast Guard is really a local branch. So if there's a situation in our land and our country on the oceans, the Coast Guard can go find vessels that are stranded. If somebody's lost at sea, they can go out there trained. Wow, I'm so proud of the people that served, and I'm definitely thankful for our military. And I want to honor them, and I hope that you can do something special. So this Veterans Day, you might want to think about maybe this was an activity I did with my students in my classroom. We would just review the branches of the military, and we would focus on 4. And it's a great time also to fly the American flag. Sometimes there are parades held in honor of veterans. Veterans might come to your school and give a conversation or a talk or just visit. If you want to, you could draw your favorite branch of the military and maybe learn more about it and write about it. The poppy is a flower that's a symbol on Veterans Day. Sometimes when I go to the store on Veterans Day, there will be veterans out, and they will give you a little poppy flower, and you can make a donation to the military if you want at that time, or they'll just give you a flower, and you can just recognize and salute and honor. So that might be a fun activity. You could write about your favorite branch of the military, draw, color, and label a picture of the uniform. You could even maybe find out somebody who's in the military and maybe get their address and write them a letter. Maybe you might be doing that at school. That would be a really nice thing to do, just to let people know that if they're serving, they're not forgotten, and you remember them. A lot of kids will send packages, letters. It's nice to feel supported when you have to be far away and you're up against dangerous situations. Now I want to share with you my favorite veteran. I've got a few of the items. Now my father is no longer alive. He did serve in World War II when he was younger. I just want to show you a few pictures of him. I'm really proud of him. And he did share a lot of stories with me when I was younger. Of course, I was young and I didn't really appreciate and value, but as time has gone on, I definitely value him. He was in the armed forces. That's him and his mother. You know, these are old pictures. They're black and white. This was him on a military base. This is him right here, probably with a friend. Now, one of the things that they had in World War II was called the cavalry, and he loved horses, and he got to do that for a while, but then they did away with that branch. Now, I'm not really sure. I wish he was still alive so I could ask him, but this actually looks like a Navy uniform, although I know he was in the armed forces. He might have started out maybe in this branch with the Navy and then got shifted. And then I do know that he actually was on a plane. So he didn't fly planes, but he was in situations where planes flew. That's his official uniform. This was his company or battalion, the group that served with him. And then one thing that happened to my dad was when he was in the war, his group, there was a group of guys in an airplane, and they were going to be dropped out of the airplane via parachute. And the enemy fired at their plane, and their plane was going down. It was going to crash, but the pilot was so brave, he was able to land in a place called Switzerland. This is a book that he got. It's so old. You know, World War II was way over 70, 80 years ago, so this is very old. And I marked the map that shows where Switzerland was a neutral country. That meant they weren't in the war at all. But if you were landed there or got to Switzerland and you were in the war, you had to stay there. You were like what they called a prisoner of war. But Switzerland was a neutral country, so you were pretty safe there. You just had to wait out the rest of the war. And that was him in Switzerland. Switzerland has lots of mountains, lots of skiing. I also found this letter from the U.S. government to my grandmother, and she was the recipient of $40. I don't know if this was, it says $40 per month because my dad served in the military. Isn't that cool? And it's official. It's got the notary stamp. This is very old. I'm so glad I have these things. And then this is so old, it's about to fall apart. But I think it's actually the papers of where my dad, it's just so delicate. I have to be very careful. I think this is where he like served in different locations and branches, because it says gunnery, and then another one says gunnery and armament, and different things that he had to be involved in. So these are some official documents. Really cool. I've also got some of his stripes that were on his coat. I've got his canteen. You know, they have to carry their equipment because they might be traveling on land for a while and they may not be able to get to supplies. So they carry their own water. The things they carry are very heavy in their backpack. This was one of his hats. I did have all of his things, but over time things have gotten lost. What about this coat? Check it out. I love it. I'm going to put it on. I've got a couple coats and shirts. I just feel so honored that my dad served in the military. I'm very proud of him. And I'm really thinking about him this Veterans Day. So I hope this video was helpful and informative. And I hope it makes us all think and appreciate those that serve in the armed forces, keeping us and our country safe. But, you know, they also do other things. They go overseas. They help small children. They sometimes serve as doctors and nurses and help those in need in other countries. So our military is something to value, to be proud of, and to salute and celebrate. All right, until our next time together, as always, don't forget to salute a veteran and appreciate them on Veterans Day and every day. Now, I want you to join me for my next video because let me grab it. I've got some special books coming up. I'm going to be reading 2 special stories to you. They're quick and very informative, yet written in a fun way. I'm going to be reading to you Hero Dad and Hero Mom. So be watching for those videos and join me and find out more about those that serve in the armed forces. All right, until our next time together, as always, have a good one.